And welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to a very, 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 very special episode of The Save Point. But before we kick off into it, allow me to introduce myself. I am your host, Joker.
I'm your co-host, Shepard.
How have you been, sir? All good?
I am very well, and I'm very excited for today's episode because it's a little different than usual.
It's been a while since we've actually done one of these video calls face-to-face, well, screen-to-screen, I suppose, hasn't it?
That's it, yeah. It's the format of the podcast kind of eliminated our need, I suppose, to record video.
This is it.
And our previously mentioned technical issues have been something of a hiccup. But we're back on track.
We're finally there.
We have something we want to discuss today. It's kind of special.
That's right. That's very, very true. We kind of had this idea of tossing about, I suppose, a video based on our gratitude, because we've actually hit, right now, counting 310 subscribers. So we thought it might be an interesting kind of back and forth discussion about why we started this channel, and just because we've hit to us it's a big milestone because there's only 3 people essentially behind this channel. We don't have a team of editors doing this, so we do everything in-house. The music is written by myself. I do the editing. Stephen comes up with the script and the topics of discussion that usually do happen. And we also have Dave, who is the genius behind the thumbnails that you see on each video, and he also has his own YouTube channel at the moment called The Silver Dave. We'll be sure to link his work in there for you guys to see. But I suppose it's actually a pretty funny story on how this whole thing started, because it really kind of took form during the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, when every day just kind of bled into one, and it was such a bizarre time. And I think that we actually had a conversation that we wanted to start a channel where we could discuss our love of certain kind of titles, where we could even duck into some retros that we did. So officially on July 20, the 23rd of July this year, it'll be the 3 years since the channel has been set up, and so far we have 75,642 views collectively. And for 2 guys who just do this as a hobby, and even seeing people interact with the channel, it has just been absolutely incredible. It really, really has. I didn't think we'd hit such a big kind of milestone like this, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. From the beginning, we always said we're not doing it for numbers, and we never expected to do numbers. It was more. None
of this is monetized either. We don't earn a penny from this.
No, this is purely for fun. Banter. When I actually remember you messaged me, being like, dude, I just want to do something together. Yeah. We were both stuck at home during the first of many lockdowns. We were dying to, I suppose, hang out, and this was a way we could do it that wasn't just playing video games, which we do. You know, we're currently in the middle of a replay of Borderlands 2 together. But it was just an opportunity for us to kind of hook up in an online space where we can just gush about something we love. Now, the first video was something of a review at the time when we were still kind of finding our voice. It was The Last of Us Part 2. We had both only recently played it. It was a brand newish game at the time. And we were like, look, this is fairly hot topic. We both have some thoughts on this game. Let's talk about it. And we kind of just went from there. Our content is obviously fairly infrequent, but that's because we do take time. We don't rush stuff out for the sake of, oh, this is relevant now. This is what people are on about now. The Last of Us was something we had shared over the years before, which is why when the sequel came out, we were like, this is important to us to talk about. And that's kind of how we approach all of our videos. We're not chasing trends. We're not. It's apparent from most of our videos, we don't have high viewer counts on our videos because we don't talk about the hot button issues. We talk about stuff that means something to us. And that's kind of why our channel is special to us. It's a chance for people to kind of come and talk to us as well about things that mean something to them. And that's a big part of our videos, I find.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right. Like, there's a lot of care that goes into what particular title we are going to be talking about. Like, I find the content creator side of things it's so easy just to like jump on the trend and jump on the bandwagon, and I think you're kind of screaming into an echo chamber because it comes very diluted. There doesn't seem to be a lot of genuine kind of feelings towards a particular kind of topic. Like the first video that we did was we shot that all in one take the day after the channel essentially went live. We set the channel up first, and then we had the video ready to go. And at the time of when The Last of Us 2 came out, like the forums were ablaze with people, rightly so, having very strong opinions about that title, and we shared our own opinions about it as well. Yeah. And like from then on, it was kind of like, okay, well, we enjoy doing these kind of these discussions and things like this, you see. And the next one that we did was actually the first proper title that we both really gelled together on. That was The Darkness. And that was really interesting as an editor to do that, because I was finding my own footing very, very quickly on how to edit videos and things like this. So looking back on the actual Last of Us video in comparison to, say, something a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more of a bigger game, I suppose, like in comparison to the Metal Gear videos, I can see like a huge difference in the editing quality. But that's the thing, we were just finding our footing straight away. But I think the biggest kind of milestone that we had on the channel was when you actually wanted to do a video based on a game that you really, really love, and I'd only touched on it, and that was the Legacy of Kain video. And I think that was our first biggest one. It was our first proper video to hit 10K. You know?
Yeah, that was enormous for the channel. Now, it's rife with inaccuracies, as many comments have pointed out, and that's fine. Like, look, that's part of this. Is we're still learning. We're still trying to find our voice nearly 3 years on about what kind of stuff we want to talk about and the way we want to talk about it. Legacy of Kain, for so early in our life,
like it's a huge title.
Yeah, that's it. It's 5 mainline games with convoluted time travel and all this kind of stuff. So I made mistakes on that, and that's whatever. I put my hands up. I edited it as well. It was the only time I edited a video for the channel, which is another reason why it took so long. Is I'm something of a perfectionist when it comes to things like that. So totally, I think I actually, here's an interesting tidbit. You and I have talked about this before, and we're going by our real names, as has been pointed out earlier. We're not our personas today.
This is right.
Owen has done a couple of Final Fantasy lore videos, which have really taken off, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. It's another kind of avenue of content we want to explore in the future. I actually have a half-edited solo video of my own that we had. Owen is aware of this. It's my love of Metal Gear Solid 2, specifically about kind of how it shaped me as a lover of video games. I had written a script, I had recorded gameplay, I'd done a good chunk of editing.
I've seen it,
and I've stopped.
Seen it.
Yeah, it's actually still saved on my laptop, but I'm not happy with it in terms of how I sound, how it looks, how it feels. It just feels very disingenuous to the way I like talking about games. It feels very, I don't know, like I recently heard this thing. I think I was watching Game Grumps from like years ago, and they mentioned when you start off doing something, you are almost a carbon copy of the things that inspired you to do it. And it's only through repetition and kind of starting to get yourself out of your comfort zone that you really find your own voice in the meantime. And I find that to be true. My never to be released, it's not happening, don't ask for it, solo Metal Gear Solid 2 video it was kind of derivative of other video game YouTube reviewers over the last few years that I watch, and I love their content. And I realized that when I was doing it, I was like, this isn't me, this is them.
This is me imitating something else.
Exactly, yeah, something better. And I'd rather we do things our own way, which is a big part of, 310 subscribers at the point that we're recording this. That's huge for us. We're like, holy crap, 310 people chose to hit a button that are like, oh yeah, we want to see something else from you in the future. Like, what? That's insane. Now, obviously, some of our, like, the Legacy of Kain video has 10,000 views. one of the Final Fantasy lore videos, the Sacred Aeons video, has what,
Yeah.
40-something thousand?
46,000.
Like, what?
I know, it's bizarre. It really is.
What?
I just, like, we've talked about this a few times, actually, and just I'm kind of going to go and continue the point that you made about the Metal Gear video you were doing. That was at a point in the channel when we were considering like having mini kind of videos in between the bigger retros that we do, because the retros take a long time to do. I think the longest retro that we did was Metal Gear Solid 2. That was 2 hours and 45 minutes or something like that, and we didn't even scratch the surface. A lot of that was just how we approached the game, the effect it made on us. We talked a lot about the script and the music and such, gameplay as well. But around this point in the channel's kind of lifespan, I think we both came up with this idea of, well, what if we have like smaller baby videos in between the big ones, so at least there's content on the channel. And that was when I thought, okay, well, maybe I could talk about a game that really means a lot to me, like when I was growing up. And the first thing I wrote was the Secret Aeons video, and it was a complete accident. It really was. Like, I didn't realize that there was such a dedicated fan base to Final Fantasy X, because it's seen as like the black sheep of the franchise in comparison to Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VI, even Final Fantasy IX. I think 8 and 10 are the ones that people are kind of a bit kind of ooh about, just because it goes off the beaten track completely. But I think I'm going to go on record now, because I've talked to you privately about this, about how I did that whole thing. I wrote the script twice, and the first time I wrote it like what you said about the Metal Gear thing, like it came across that I was just like, this isn't me. I'm trying too hard to be somebody else or whatever. And just going on that point, as a matter of fact, I think you made a very lovely kind of comparison. I think you said to me, you could be the Vati video of Final Fantasy lore. And that to me was like the biggest compliment I think I've ever been given.
Well, yeah, Vati Video was one of our first channels we bonded over.
Yeah.
We had been talking about games for years, but then when we both got into Dark Souls, and Vati Video was kind of reaching prominence as well, we were like, oh, I'm really digging this guy's content. This is really cool. And on the subject of Final Fantasy, I can't for the life of me find any dedicated lore channels. Now, I'm sure there are, but it seems like there's a demand for something. It's a supply-demand issue. Dark Souls lore videos, there are a dime a dozen nowadays.
Elden Ring videos as well, Demon Souls.
Yeah, anything FromSoft or FromSoft adjacent. But then something like these humongous JRPGs with multiple titles in the franchise. I'm talking Final Fantasy X specifically, not even all of the Final Fantasies. You have Final Fantasy X and X-2. Final Fantasy VII has obviously a million spin-offs. There's so much content to be explored, and it doesn't seem to be being done at the moment, not by many people anyway, which is why I said to you, why could you not be that with like the Vati Video of Final Fantasy lore, because it seems like such an untapped area that people are clamoring for. There's like, we have 40 whatever thousand views on that one video, more views than all of our other videos combined. So I suppose there's a question for anybody who wants to comment on this video. Is that something you want more of? Because it's something we're interested in. There is a somewhat side project related to lore videos that we're working on at the moment.
That's right.
We're really excited about it. It's cool. It's different for us. And again, it's going back to my point earlier, and I'm sorry for hijacking.
Don't be sorry
the
for
conversation.
Not at all. Not at all. I could listen to you talk for hours, my friend, so please continue.
Oh, baby. One thing, Owen, we were talking about recording Metal Gear Solid 2, and it was over 2.5 hours. And it may or may not come across in our videos, but we record start to finish. We don't pre-record anything. We don't script anything. So when we record a video, it is just bam, record, and we talk. There's an element of structure to it. You know, we go in before and we'll say, okay, we'll talk about X, Y, and Z. But sometimes we riff in the moment, and at the end of that, like, we've recorded for, say, 2 or 3 hours, and we are absolutely shattered. And the editing then goes around that recording. So much of our work, while researched and there is some element of structure to it, it all comes from the heart. It is entirely our in the moment feelings and thoughts and experiences on something. I think I was talking about a game before on the channel, and halfway through talking about it, I was changing certain things in my mind. I was like, yeah, actually thinking about this in a new light, or maybe you said something to me, and I'm like, that's actually kind of interesting. I've never considered it that way before. That's something that happens a lot with us because we riff, we back and forth. And I think as a result, we enjoy when we get to make content more because we're not rigidly sticking to, it has to be this. It's no, what is it in the moment? That's what matters to us, I think.
Exactly. It's very much a free form of dialogue between us. Like, as you said, like, nothing is pre-recorded. I think the only times we've actually ever stopped recording is if I text you and say, can we pause here? I need to go to the bathroom, because we're so into it, you know, we're really so into it. Like, there's no script. Like, we have a structure, like, okay, let's remember to talk about this and what we thought about it. Let's remember to talk about that and what we thought about it. The only time that we have used scripted content is when, and I'm going to say when we did the Final Fantasy lore videos. And I know I was the one who wrote the scripts for both videos and did the audio and whatever, but I still see it as like a team kind of project. Like, we're in a group chat already with Dave as well, and this is called the Save Point group chat, where any kind of milestone that happens, it's like, guys, well done, we're doing really well, you know. But about the Aeons video, like, it was 2 scripts, and I recorded it all in one take using the microphone on my phone. There was no studio setup, there was nothing. It was literally press record, I need to talk about this. And it's amazing that so many people have resonated with that video. And I remember I thought that the highlight of the channel would have been the Kane video, the Legacy of Kane video. And then I got a notification that so-and-so has commented on the Aeons video, and I hadn't checked it in the longest time. And all of a sudden it was like, guys, we're at 15,000 views here, what's going on? And just like, now that we've gone up to 47,000 views, like, for me, it's like, how did a script that I wrote twice, recorded it once using my phone, get to this stage? But it was just so heartwarming to actually get that. It was like, okay, you know?
It was so strange as well because it came so long after the video had even come out. Like, Legacy of Kain kind of saw a steady climb shortly after release and kind of peaked around 10,000. That was gradual. Final Fantasy Aeons was okay. It was among some of our other videos, got like 100 views in its first couple of weeks, and we were like, okay, cool, that's done. Really happy we got 100 views at the time, you know. And then, as you said, we got a notification, like an email. We both have the email notifications on our phone, so we get notified when there's comments or any major trends and stuff. And yeah, it was just like, oh, there's a comment, and you messaged me like, what the hell's going on with the Aeons video? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, It's like 15,000 views. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And that's just the crazy thing. As I said, I think it stems from, while we're not the most competently produced YouTube content, we're passionate.
There's heart,
and I think that comes through in our work. You know, your love for Final Fantasy X, like that's evident from that one video. You have a Zanarkand necklace, I think, don't you? Like
yeah.
Zanarkand? Yeah.
I've got the Zanarkand necklace, and I've got play arts figures of people from Final Fantasy X. Like, that's just it's such an important title to me, you know.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before. It's a game I've gotten into after that as well. I hadn't played many Final Fantasies until after you and I became friends. Mm-hmm. And now we talk about Final Fantasy VII theories and all this stuff.
It's great, though. It really is. It's fabulous to see it. And the other thing I want to mention just about the videos that we've done is there's a few people who kind of return to the channel, and one of them is a gentleman named Chris, and we've never met this guy before. He's American, and he served in the Marines. So Chris, thank you so much for your service to your country. Just 3 lads from the Save Point saying thank you. But he came across our channel while researching Legacy of Kain lore, and our video popped up, and subsequently from there he started watching the rest of our stuff. And there was even a guy who commented on the Darkness video. I'm just pulling things out of thin air at the moment.
These are public as well. We're not sharing any private information. These are actually comments you can see yourselves.
Yeah, they're all on the videos. You can see them. We're not going to we're not going to give out people's information or anything. That's all. They're all comments.
Yeah,
but publicly available. This is it. Like one guy on the Darkness video said, I this game meant so much to me, and I never thought I'd find other people who spoke with such passion, such flair about a title, and it really stuck me because I wanted to talk to people about this, but nobody knew about it, and yet here you guys are doing it. So for him to say that, it was kind of like, well, that makes it worth it, because we're just two lads with a microphone, a love of video games, and a laptop, and all we do is say, okay, let's press record, let's talk about this, and it really does when you can affect other strangers out there, and they say, like, I really enjoyed this, and the fact that you guys are responding to the comments, like, is just amazing. And but for us, it's like, it's second nature. It's like, well, you took the time to say hi, I'm going to say hi back to you. You know?
I will say on that subject, I'm less responsive to comments than you would be, and that's because
yeah, but look at your job, man. Like, look at your job though, like, as well. Like, you're so busy as well.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where we both work full time, and I'm particularly like, I'm just gonna put my hands up and say I'm a bit sensitive to comments, positive and negative. I take them all very seriously. So if someone says something kind of criticizing my work, I take that to heart. I'm like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I get it. And
I get it.
Positive, much like these other comments you're referring to, is kind of, oh man, like that really hits home.
Yeah.
So if I did reply to every comment, I would never leave the comment section, because I would be so...
You'd be emotionally tortured as well.
Yeah, it's
really
too much.
be.
It's too much. Especially when, I have emotional commitments outside of the channel. My work is quite demanding. I won't go into details about that, but it is very... it's heavy. I have my partner who I live with. We're trying to buy a house, and there's so many other things outside of the channel that kind of demand emotional attention. So don't take it personally if I'm not the one replying to comments, even if they're directed at me. I do read them, and Owen as well. He'll message me when a particularly big comment, such as the one on the Darkness video, crops up. He and I were talking about that for like 10 minutes. We were just like, man, it's like, fucking hell. And even like on the Darkness, again, that's a game nobody is talking about that we can see. That's a series, it's 2 games.
Yeah.
And that was a game we bonded over like 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, oh, we need to talk more about this game, man. It's a fucking great game. And then we were friends when the sequel came out.
Yeah, came out, when was it?
2011,
2012?
So, yeah, about then. And we were like, getting that shit day one, we're going to talk about it, we're going to play it. And that's what we do, that's why we talk.
I played the demo in your house. I played the demo in your house. Dave was there. And you were there.
God,
and you were there. And you were there.
Yeah. I actually, one of my favorite moments of video game, it was actually you, me, and Dave as well. I introduced you to Dark Souls.
Oh, here we go.
And we were this is when I was living in my mother's house. She was away. I set up my TV because it was better than my mom's TV in the living room. I set it up in our kind of dining room area and hooked up my Xbox 360. I was like, oh, this is a game I've been playing recently. It's called Dark Souls. You've probably never heard of it. Here's the controller. Let's give it a go. And you were like, fucking Xbox 360 bollocks is this? Because you were a PlayStation 3 guy.
That's right.
So right off the bat, you were like, what the fuck is this monstrosity I'm holding? And then you're playing along, and you're like, okay, this is kind of cool, the medieval fantasy setting. And it was in the Undead Burg. You walked up, and the big red dragon, swoops down, crashes on the bridge, and flies off. And the controller leapt out of your hand, and you were just like, I'm fucking done.
I think I tried pausing the game. I tried pausing the game as well, and I brought the menu up because it wouldn't pause.
You nearly broke the controller, like. And that's that's the kind of stuff we love about being mates. Like this is why we play games together. Shit like that happens.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Oh my god,
so good.
I wish I could have recorded that. To be honest, that's.
Do you know what though? You and Dave knew it was coming up. You totally knew it was coming up.
I think I had shown him before.
Yeah.
or talked to him about it before, and we were like, hey. And it's not even a horror game. It's like we've done this with spooky games and shit before as well, but this was just
That, oh man, I'm surprised it wasn't a controller-shaped hole in the wall afterwards, you know?
lodged in the ceiling.
I
like.
swear, man. But like, that's just like such a good memory, you know? It really is. It really, really is. But to have those moments is great.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we do this as well. You know, we have great fond memories of video games together. And even when there's games that we haven't played together, we just love talking about them. Legacy of Kain being a prime example. You had only ever played Soul Reaver.
That's right.
But you were like, man, I fucking love Soul Reaver. I want to know about the rest of these games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I've played them. I'll talk about them. And that was part of that fun, was you were like asking me questions, and it was so involved. Just even outside of the video, we had been talking about it for years, and then that was one of the reasons we chose it as a subject for the channel. And then of course, Dave's thumbnail, in and of itself, got comments on the. Yeah,
people thought it was
someone commented being like, I thought that art for a new game.
Amazing, but like it's that's stuff like that is just like incredible, because like Dave is such a great artist anyway. Like,
I love it.
His style is incredible, and he puts so much time and effort into not only helping us out, but like his own channel as well. And like I've actually written him music for his channel.
He also works 2 full-time jobs.
Exactly, and yet whenever we say, Dave, is there a chance you can do this? Yeah, leave it to me, you know.
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of like, I've written him, I think, 3 or 4 pieces for his channel, and I was like, look, this is just my way of saying thank you. Just take them, do what you want with them. I'm giving you the copyright to them. I've written them, but they're yours. Just as like a thank you to him. And kind of going back on the when you were chatting about the Legacy of Kain video, when I was asking questions, I remember that was one that we did for Final Fantasy X when I had played the game sideways at this stage, and you hadn't completed it. But I mentioned it to you. I was like, look, what if we do this and I can reverse it in a way where you're enjoying the story for the first time, much like what you did with me with the Kain series. And I think there was actually, I've edited around it. I really wish I kept it in the fucking video though, looking back on it now. There's a moment when I'm talking about when Sin attacks Kilika.
Yeah.
And your expression was just, you were just staring, you know? And there's actually a very, very audible kind of sound that you make, which is like, I can hear you going, you know, or, oh my God. And I really wish I had kept that in. But I suppose the question I kind of want to ask you is, I have a few of them, and it's kind of hard to whittle them down. What's been like your favorite video that we've done so far? We've got loads planned, but what's so far?
Yeah, see, that's kind of the thing. I think, and this will be slightly vain, my personal favorite video is probably the Legacy of Kain video, because it was it was the only one I'd edited, so it has kind of a special place in my heart.
I got you.
I also never want to do that again. That was horrendous. But it was the first time, I think, when we were doing anything for the channel that we saw much more kind of engagement with viewers.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, we had the odd comment on other videos, and we'd had a couple of hundred views per video, which at the time we were like, this is brilliant. And then, boom, Legacy of Kain kicks off, and we're like, oh my God, there's people that wanted to hear us talk about video games and possibly give out about it. But still, like, it really kind of resonated with me and holds a special place in my heart, because it is something I did. I obviously, we did it together, and that's a big part of our channel. Everything is us. It's never me, or but it's just a proud moment on a personal level, because it was the one I edited, I researched,
you did everything.
I kind of took the reins on it.
Yeah.
Which is, to be fair, you do that with most of our videos. So this was just, for me, it was like, this is my turn, you know? This is my contribution to the channel in a big way. And that's why it's kind of special to me. Okay. What about you?
There's 2. I'm not gonna lie. I have a main one, and then I have like a splinter one. Okay. The main one, I think, where I just really enjoyed, I don't know what it was, like, I don't know what was in the air, but we were on point in this video. We were on point. and we both made very, very good points. We actually had a minor kind of debate amongst each other in this video, and that would be the BioShock review, or retro, should I say. I just loved having that conversation with you about the first BioShock. I loved having that pivotal moment. We've talked about it, the would you kindly thing. And when I was saying that Andrew Ryan is letting all of this happen, it's kind of like he's a sacrificial lamb. He kind of has that human moment. But you said, actually, I've got a different viewpoint on that. I think it's the beauty of this game. It's Andrew Ryan not wanting to let go of control. And we kind of had a bit of a debate about that. But I just think, I don't know what it was. We were just, both of us had such, I don't know, we had a lot to say about that particular title, because there's multiple titles in that you could argue it's a trilogy. But I don't know what it was. I think it was BioShock 1 was the first one BioShock Infinite was the first one I played.
Yeah.
So the first one was the last one that I played. So it was interesting to kind of talk about like what I enjoyed in BioShock Infinite that people didn't like, or what I found in BioShock 1 that people really loved and I didn't like. I've kind of had this chat with you before that it took me a long time to get into the likes of Hollow Knight, because Metroidvanias to me confused the shit out of me. I'm not really a fan of those side scrollers where there's multiple levels, and like what I found with BioShock was you have to go to here to get down there, but you don't have that key. You have to go all the way back here to use this plasmid. You don't have that plasmid. You have to go to the other side of the map to get that key to open that door to get that plasmid. I don't like when things are running back and forth. But
yeah, fair.
You yourself are a huge lover of the Metroidvania thing.
Yeah, the subgenre. It's we were only talking about this earlier today.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
actually
one of those things.
We talk to each other far too much.
I love Metroid as a franchise. Sorry?
We talk to each other far too much.
Oh, we have like hour-long conversations before,
and then we text 5 minutes later.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Metroid is kind of a franchise that really kind of resonated with me when I was younger, and like any kind of offshoot of that, any Metroid.
You're playing Prime at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, the remaster, which is absolutely spectacular. I'm so in love with it.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, it's one of those things where I just love that whole format. I can't even explain it. It's something that really hooks me. This idea that you're kind of gradually progressing through a story or a world, and it opens up the more you go through it. So it's not quite like open world, but it's as your character improves, so do your options for traversal and exploration and stuff. And I love that.
Yeah, I totally get you.
I love it. But yeah, like it is a thing though. Like I kind of put you onto Hollow Knight, and I think I said it to you before, only today as well, that Hollow Knight is a game that it took me a couple of tries to get into the first time around. Yeah. And I love it now. It's one of my all-time favorites. But it did. I played it. I'm like,
yeah.
And then I would go back again like months later and start a new file. And, okay, this time it clicks. So yeah, that happens as well. You know, Final Fantasy X is another game where that happened to me. I tried it a couple of times, and I don't know, maybe it was just the wrong time for me to play it. And I'm echoing something I've said on this channel countless times. The moment in your life when you play a game is kind of important to how you view it. You know, like Final Fantasy X, as an example, is something now I absolutely adore and could go back and play comfortably. But the first time I tried it, I was like, I'll give it a break. You know?
Yeah. The problem with that particular title is it's very linear. It's extremely linear. And I know that the voice acting can be a bit stilted. It can be very awkward. But for me, it's a very, very special game to me, because this is where music really, really played a big part. And I've talked about music in video games time and time again. But the other video actually that I was just a quick point. The other video that I was super proud of, and because I kind of organized the whole thing, was when I interviewed Steve Ince from Revolution Software. Well, he was in Revolution Software, and he was involved. He was actually the executive producer of one of the first. Actually, it was the first ever point and click game I ever played, and it was on the PC. I specifically remember playing it on this clunky Windows 96 with the huge, big keyboard on it, and it was a game called Broken Sword, and that was like one of the first titles that introduced me into artwork. It introduced me to dialogue. It introduced me into this grand adventure where you have a regular man who is thrown into this conspiracy. To put it into, without getting too much into it, essentially the game starts off. You're a man by the name of George Stobart. He's the one who you're controlling. He's taken vacation time in Paris by himself. He's outside a cafe having a cup of coffee. He kind of sheepishly smiles at the waitress serving him the cup of coffee. She goes into the cafe, and then balloons appear, and George puts one of them out with his toothpick, and a clown's face appears, and he's playing an accordion, and George is kind of watching this guy. The clown runs into the cafe where an older man is sitting and takes the man's briefcase but replaces it with the accordion, and he runs out of the cafe with the briefcase under his arm. He's kind of cradling it like it's a newborn baby, and 25 seconds later the cafe explodes. And George wakes up underneath the tarp of the cafe, and from then on it was a grand adventure. So for me, having Steve on the channel to actually talk to the man who created this actual title, and to get his background on actually creating a title that meant a lot to me as a young player, just having that dialogue with him was absolutely incredible. And he couldn't have been more friendly. He has a wealth of knowledge. He's an extremely talented writer, and just having that chat with somebody who's in the industry was just incredible. Like, it really was. Just being in the same kind of zone as him was just amazing. I really, really enjoyed that, I must say. I really, really enjoyed that.
I can see why. It's actually one of my favorite videos to watch on the channel, because I love watching you talk. And I love listening to you talk about these things, so it's really cool. And then actually, you've reminded me of something off channel that I thought would be fun to talk about real quick. A couple of years back, somebody on this call, and it's not me, went on a little app called Cameo.
Oh yeah.
And
I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you went on to, you contacted a certain somebody on Cameo, and they got to do a little message for me. I don't know, for anyone who's unaware, Cameo is an app / service where you can contact celebrities and kind of ask them to give personalized messages and stuff like that. And there's a wide range of like A-list, B-list, C-list, all that kind of on the app.
There's loads of people on there.
Yeah, it's a great idea for gifts and stuff like that for if you're into it. And I was particularly into the gift I received from you, where none other than Simon Templeman, Kane himself, sent me a message. And it was mostly a quote from the game itself, from Legacy of Kain Defiance, but it was just like hearing him say it again and to me was gorgeous, because the man has such a fantastic like power with his voice, and
he's very theatrical.
Oh my god, I love it. And it was such a great little. You just like, hey, I have the thing for you. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh my god. So that was fucking spectacular, and I love you for that.
You're welcome. You're more than welcome. I mean, for me, it was just like, I know that you appreciate him as a voice actor anyway. Not only in the Kain series. I know you've mentioned other titles that you're fond of as well. You liked what he did in Mass Effect 2 as David Archer.
He's in Uncharted 1.
He's in Uncharted 1. He's a great stage actor anyway. And I was just thinking, I know he's super into him. Like, if I could get it as a gift or something, it would be pretty cool. So I went onto Cameo, and lo and behold, Simon Templeman was there. And honestly, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, you were saying before, you were kind of talking back and forth to kind of make sure the message was kind of right, and it wasn't just like, hey, say this to my mate Stephen. It was, oh hey, like, could you try this, and maybe we could talk a bit more about this, and he was just real cool about it. I was like,
He was super cool.
Because he's not like, you know, your Dwayne Johnsons or your Kevin Hart's. He's not like this big guy who's in absolutely everything, who's probably very, not knocking any A-list actors or anything like that, but he seemed very like appreciative of the people who take the time to watch his stuff and engage with them.
This is it.
And I love that about it as well. It's because it's just like, you know, that's a cool guy. He's doing this for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And as far as I think you had said it to me as well, that the money doesn't go to him; it goes to charity. I think.
Yeah. So there was a charity that he was linked with, and he said that he's not taking money for this at all. It's a charity set up somewhere in America where he's based at the moment. I can't for the life of me remember what it was, but it's on his Cameo profile itself. You can see it from there. But
and I love that.
Yeah. Like I reached out to him and I said, listen, I have an idea here, but I kind of want to get the wording right. So as you said, we took that. It's like the two sides of the same coin. But what if when you throw it, the coin lands on its edge? And I got him to put your name into it.
Yeah.
So I just like
that was the first line in the video, the Kane video.
That
was
right.
the clip I used to start it off.
That's right.
Oh, you divil! I never even caught that.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I took that because it kind of linked the two together. Like you were talking, that was the first clip that you used, and then the first thing that you hear him say is this.
Yeah.
But he really was a gentleman to actually do. It was a very quick kind of. I'm going to use the word transaction, but afterwards when he sent it to me, it's so strange saying that. When he sent it to me, afterwards he left a message and said, "I really, really hope that your friend enjoys it. And thank you so much for getting in contact." And I was like, man, and even like talking about the Broken Sword video that I did with Steve Ince, there's a moment actually in that video when I'm rattling off information to him, and out of nowhere he goes, "You know more about the game than I do." And to hear him say that, I got so embarrassed and shy that I just blurted out laughing. You know, and the both of us had that kind of like we had huge smiles on our faces. Because for him, he was probably thinking like, it's great to talk to somebody who's enthusiastic. It's great to talk to somebody who knows what I've done, which is fantastic.
On the subject of your interview with Steve Ince, it's a great example of the technical bollocks we've had to deal with on this channel because you, and I hope I'm okay to say this, you recorded an interview with Steve Ince and then couldn't use it.
Yeah, that's it. That was exactly it.
You essentially had to do the interview a second time, and the fact that he was so accommodating and cool about it is such a big deal as well. Like the version on our YouTube channel is the second time, so he's already answered some of these questions to you previously.
Yeah,
and yet he still was happy to do it again. I'm like, I
remember
love that.
I remember texting you and Dave afterwards and being like, "I'm actually so done."
Oh, you were like. Almost in like
broken.
Deep depression from this. It was like, because this was obviously such a big deal at the time. You were like, this is my shot. This is so important to me and my life as a gamer and all this stuff. And then you messaged like, "Stephen, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like, oh my god! And you talked me through the whole thing, and we were back and forth. It was a little while as well before you went to re-record it because you were like so downtrodden and broken over what had happened.
That entire thing, like, because we had recorded, like, he had some tech issues on his side as well because his audio interface wasn't connected properly, so he couldn't hear himself, and his mic was weird or something. When a video starts off that way, you know there's something else going on. And when we got to about a half an hour, this message popped up, and I went, "Oh, fuck." And as he was in the middle of talking about this big important scene, I was like trying to like hurry the conversation along, and I could see he was kind of looking at me like,
"You asked me to be here."
Yeah. And afterwards, I stopped and I said, "I'm so sorry, but this is after happening." And he's like, "Oh no, don't worry." I was like, "Look, I'm really, really sorry. Is there any way that we could, like, if I could give you a text in a few days?" He was like, "Call me when you need me." And afterwards, I got back on, got onto you, and I was like, "I'm actually so finished with this YouTube thing. I'm so finished with the channel because I look like an absolute amateur in front of this guy." And it was so like I felt so disheartened, and I was like, well, what the fuck is the point of, like, in even buying this thing when it's not even letting us record? Like,
Yeah.
you know, for the longest time, I remember saying to you after Zoom, and I will say their name out now, after they fucked us up,
Yeah.
like, I was
Well,
like, we have to sack the channel, like.
Yeah, because that was we had been using Zoom up to this point, and I think we only paid for a subscription once, and that was when we wanted to have Dave on an episode, because it was like €15 a month or whatever. But if you were just doing one-on-one calls, they
was
didn't have
free.
a time limit.
Yeah.
So we're like, cool. They changed that policy right before you were going to record with Steve Ince.
That's right.
And we didn't know about it. Now, maybe they had sent us an email and it got fucking moved to our spam folder or whatever the fuck. But we didn't know. So when you went to do it, you were like, assuming I have unlimited time still. It was only during the call the realization happened, which is like, oh, I am not. Oh, because obviously most of our stuff runs well past the 40-minute time limit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually a huge factor in why it took us so long to kind of get back to producing content. There's a big window there between what happened with Steve Ince and us starting to record again.
Yeah.
So the fact we're even doing it again at all is kind of a miracle, because that was such a moment of like, shit, this could be the end for us.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to just record 40 minutes. We're quite verbal, if it's not apparent. Even this now, at the point of this call, we're 46 minutes in, we haven't even moved to our second point on our list of things to talk about. You know, like, it's because we like talking. We do. We enjoy talking to each other. We enjoy just verbalizing. We're very emotional people that like talking about how we feel about stuff, which is why we're making this video as well. We want to talk to you guys about the kind of trials and tribulations we've experienced, the things we loved, the things we didn't. And actually, I'm going to use this to segue into our next point. We're going to talk about what's coming up.
That's right. Well, I think now that we have a means of actually recording video to video, and there's probably going to be a watermark somewhere up here, but deal with it. Like, it doesn't matter. Deal with it.
It's free.
It's free, and you get to see our beautiful faces. Well, his beautiful face, anyway. One of the big ones that we were so close to completing was the Metal Gear retro, and we started that retro 6 months ago.
Jesus.
Yeah, and we're still not finished it. And we said, we'll get it done in 3 parts. We'll move on to something else. We'll get it done, and then that'll be fine. And I can just do the editing around it. Side note: if I ever have to edit another Metal Gear video after we do Guns of the Patriots, find another Joker. They are a nightmare to edit. They are an absolute nightmare. But I love it anyway. Don't get me wrong, I love it anyway. But there's just so much in those fucking games that, like, it's so difficult to cram everything in because of how fast we can sometimes speak or how quickly we move on.
Yeah. We had nearly done Sons of Liberty as 2 videos, didn't we? When we were recording, we had said to ourselves, we may have to do this as 2 videos.
Yeah.
But we were just like, no, just power through.
Just keep going.
We're in a flow now.
Yeah.
We don't want to break that up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's important to kind of state that after Guns of the Patriots, when we do get around to releasing that, it may be potentially a while before we do another retro style video.
Yeah.
Because it's a form of content that is so time consuming for us and already difficult to manage because we do this all online. We don't meet up to do these things at the moment. So retrospective style content is something we're going to not necessarily stop doing, but kind of shift away our focus a bit. We've been kind of enjoying doing the podcast format a lot lately because it is easier for us to produce it and just have it out there.
Yeah.
Now, on that subject, I'd like to ask if anybody has any insight into any input, rather. The podcast stuff we record, we put our thumbnail up and we put that on YouTube. Is this something you guys are okay with? Would you rather more video to your podcast? Kind of like what we're doing now where we're still on screen talking back and forth. We value input, so tell us what you guys like, what you don't. And yeah, like the podcast stuff we've been enjoying because, again, a big part of what we do is we just like talking to each other about stuff. So we're going to keep doing that. But we have some other stuff in the pipeline as well that we've been talking. We're often 4, 5, 6 recordings ahead in our minds
Yeah.
because we do have so many ideas we like talking about, going back and forth on. So I don't know if you want to open the door a bit there and maybe kind of shine a light.
Yeah, so like one of the things that Stephen mentioned there was the podcasting, and that for us it's easier to get content on that because there's not much heavy lifting when it comes to editing. It's that you record onto Riverside, and we're proud to be on Riverside. Those guys have really this website has saved us, and then it links directly up onto Spotify. But another thing that people have been asking me, and this is primarily on the Aeons video, is please do more content like this. And I'm not specifically talking about Final Fantasy X. I'm thinking, would you guys like to have more kind of snappier 5-minute videos in between a podcast or in between a big retro? Like we're very much open to suggestions. Look, there's 3 people behind this channel, and 2 of them are on screen right now. Dave is so busy doing his other bits and bobs. He's essentially working 2 jobs, is married, and has his own YouTube channel, and yet he still has time to help us out. So we're reaching out to you guys for some form of constructive criticism, I would say. Would you like to see more lore videos or more character videos in between the podcasts or whatever that we have coming up? Another point that that Stephen had actually said was, would you guys be interested if we did some playthroughs? There's some titles that Stephen really likes that I've never played before that I'd be interested in seeing. Would say a let's play of a particular title, not even the whole game.
Even just kind of almost like a reactions thing.
Yeah.
Kind of, oh, you've never seen this before, or I've never seen it before, and then we play through it together for a half an hour to an hour and get kind of initial thoughts, opinions. And if it's something we're enjoying, maybe we would play through the whole thing in like half an hour chunks, like a proper let's play, I suppose. I think that's something we've talked about doing for months now, because again, it's something to do. It's us hanging out, it's us playing games together, which we love doing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If we can get that to work, it's something, if you guys would like it, we'd gladly do it. It's content in between content.
Yeah. I know there's been people on the channel who said, the reason why I've subscribed to your channel is because I love those in-depth videos, and which is amazing. That's totally amazing to hear that. The flip side of that is, like, you would be waiting a while to get them because we have to plan them out. And it's not like it's not us saying, we've got 105 things to do for one video. Like, there is a process behind it. And then, as me being the editor, like, it takes me a good solid 3 weeks to edit one video, and that's because I just don't have the time sometimes, or there may be some days where I'm just like creatively burnt that I don't even want to look at the fucking thing. And that's just a compulsion that I have to get over. Like, I'm more than happy to put a little bit more time into doing it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the thing, is at the end of the day, this is a hobby or kind of a passion project for us. It's not a career. It's not a full-time gig. And we've said this before, and I apologize if we're kind of repeating ourselves, but it is something that we do when we can. We both work full-time. We have other commitments in our lives. We're both trying to do more with our lives on top of all that, trying to progress other elements of our lives to the next level of adulthood.
I wouldn't recommend it.
As a result of that, it's awful. As a result of that, these videos are when we can do them. And as Ona said as well, sometimes we're just bollock tired, and we're looking at it like, we've scheduled days to record when we're both just not feeling it, And it does happen because we're only people. This is just something we do in our spare time, which is at a premium these days.
Well, this is it. Like, but it's, I think that we wanted to do this this video on gratitude. I think it is just because we've hit such a milestone, and we are open to suggestions. We're also on Instagram as well at the Save Point Official. You guys can follow us on there. We're a little bit more responsive on there because YouTube has a weird way of like letting us respond to private messages. So you can reach out to us on Instagram. It's where you can find us there. And we are open for ideas that you guys want to hear. because we do enjoy doing these videos, and it's a passion project for us. We're not being paid to do this. We haven't monetized anything. We don't earn a penny from doing this. We've put money into the channel, as a matter of fact.
Obviously, we were subscribed to Zoom for a brief period when we needed it for the longer videos. We had to pay for our own equipment, which is that's standard fare. That's to be expected when you make content like this. There's money that goes into it. But we didn't put that money in expecting anything in return. It was just, this is the way we could produce this content to the highest possible standard we can.
The return that we were getting was you guys being happy with what we could do with it.
Yeah. And I was hanging out, just talking about something we love, and even in between when we do talk about the channel, it's so enthusiastic and passionate that we're like, oh man, there's so many cool ideas we want to try out, and we may not see any of the ideas come to fruition for a year or two, but it's something we're still so passionate to do when we get to do it.
Yeah, this is it. But I think, kind of wrapping up the video, I just want to, I would actually like to say thank you, first of all, to you, Stephen, as a matter of fact. I couldn't have imagined a better co-host to do these kind of things with. I mean it. You've introduced me to games that I've made, without sounding too corny or without it being very cliche here, and I mean this, you've introduced me to titles that have changed my life completely. You've introduced me to my favorite game of all time, which is Persona 5, but Persona 5 Royal is my favorite variation of that. You've got me into Dark Souls, Mass Effect, and to have you for 3 years doing this, we've known each other since we were 18, to have you doing this with me, I really would not have been able to do it without you. I mean that. There's never an issue with you. You're very enthusiastic. You're a wonderful co-host, and it really does mean a lot that you're here doing this with me. Because I wouldn't have been able to do it with anybody else. I know I wouldn't have. I would like to thank Dave, the Silver Dave, also for the wonderful work he does with the thumbnails, giving us ideas, feedback. He's extremely enthusiastic, and he is just a really gentle soul. And I think the last person I would like to thank is actually your brother as well, Stephen, because he was one of the first people to kind of push the traffic on the channel, sharing our content and things like this, and even everybody else sharing the content. There's friends of mine who really enjoyed the podcast side of things and the lore videos. So I'm very grateful towards all of you guys. And even you people watching this right now, the fact that you're here with us, spending an hour of your time, I'm very thankful for it. I really am. And the award for Best Dramatic Actor goes to...
I just want to echo what you said. Yeah, it is something that we're both very grateful for, because if we even got 100 people watching this video, we'd become like, 100 people like this stuff. That's cool. And that's part of the fun for us. Is it is small. It is, it's not the most ambitious channel out there. It's not the most well produced. It's just two lads having a bit of banter, talking about video games. That's why it means something to us as well, because we do this anyway.
Yeah.
Why not share it with like-minded people?
Absolutely.
And I'll do a kind of a quick fire round of thanks myself. So yeah, same. Thanks to Dave for his wonderful thumbnails. Thanks to my brother David. He has his own podcast. I'm giving you a shout out, David. You're getting your shout out. You can fuck off now. He does a podcast on football, or soccer for you Americans, called the Peilcast. He's very passionate about the sport.
They did a great one on mental health and sports. Actually, I really enjoyed that one.
that was great.
That was great.
They actually took, on that note, they took an idea of ours, our gaming hot takes podcast. They did one. He was like, "We're going to do that on the Peilcast, but for football."
Very good.
So they did their hottest takes, and it was their most listened to podcast on Spotify.
Oh, there you go. Happy days.
So
I'm happy for him.
Yeah. So double shouting out to him, and then I'm making him shout out back to us for the idea. Then also I want to thank him because he has had this Spotify podcast for a couple of years now on Peilcast. He put us on to using Riverside and Anchor to get back into recording. So without that, we may not even still have a channel to record for. So big shout out there. And then of course, shout out to you. This is your baby. You came to me with the idea to do this. 300 subs is more than we ever thought we'd get to. And when I think it was only a couple of days ago, you were like, we need to do a thing for 300. I'm like, yeah, cool. It may not seem like it, but Owen Joker is the driving force behind this channel. It is the three of us, but you're the one who comes to me saying, I want to do another video, and we shoot back and forth on ideas and stuff like that. But you're the reason this channel exists, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It really has. And we have many, many more great content, video content coming up as well. The Metal Gear video is going to be done now that we have this, and then we're going to kind of take a breather from the retros and then dip our toes a little bit more into more kind of quick-fired podcast episodes. And we're looking forward to
experimental content and stuff like that as well. Yeah,
exactly.
We're going to try new things. It's honestly exciting. We've never had so much kind of ahead of us before. Because as I said, we kind of work video to video when we're usually a few video ideas ahead, but now we have like, where do we start?
Exactly.
And that's part of the fun. It's kind of like, oh, where are we going to go next? We don't even know.
It's exciting. The world is our oyster now at this stage, and you guys have been amazing supporters of the channel for the past 3 years. And I think now that we have a bit more of kind of like a movement towards the channel, we can only see where it goes, but we are extremely grateful. So I suppose signing off on this brand new addition to the Save Point, and please guys, do not forget to save your progress. I've been your host Joker.
I've been your co-host Shepard.
Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.